our pleasure now to welcome into the Cougar Council Room in Studio B for the first time ever, former Sprayberry Yellow Jacket star and a Clayton State basketball legend, now BYU men's basketball coach Kevin Young. Coach, great to have you with us.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah. Glad to be here finally.
Let's go.
Hey, you've been busy. A lot's going on right now. Are you still having like midnight, 1 a.m. calls to figure stuff out?
There's a lot going on, but that's par for the course. So
It's busy.
It's about time we got somebody from Clayton State in here, huh?
We've been asking for it for 10 years of this show.
Hey, for the record, we're going to do a fan fest in Phoenix next week. So if you need us to put our hats on backwards with Ryan Smith and help out with a move, like we could probably rally the troops.
Get some
to
boxes.
help out with that.
yeah, no, appreciate that. Yeah, appreciate that.
How is the move and the transition coming along?
It's coming. Yeah, kids are still in school. Got about a week left, so I've been doing a little back and forth, house hunting and doing all the things. But there's bigger fish to fry right now than worrying about the move. So we're kind of focused on all the other things.
With that said, have you responded to Kalani Sitake's text that you referenced in the press conference yet?
I've made sure that happened very quickly. Nah, he's actually been unbelievable. I reached out to him kind of unsolicited about a week or two ago just to pick his brain, and he's awesome. Great dude.
Yeah, he's fantastic. You can only ghost him for so long. Right?
He'll come find
He's
you.
an imposing presence.
That's awesome.
Coach, how would you explain just the first few weeks on the job if you had to summarize, words to summarize that?
Busy, yeah, insane. You know, the first part was tricky doing both jobs. You know, I would go to Suns practice and then go back to we were on the road, so I'd go back to the hotel and just basically be on the phone for the next 12 hours, and even found time to snuck over here for a quick trip and then go back to Minnesota. But no, it's been busy. You know, it's been interesting though, because as busy as it's been, I mean, all jokes aside, it really has been working, you know, 20 hours a day or whatever, but I've just felt so much energy. It's so much newness for me. It's been really charged me up and just diving head first into everything.
I think the fans have felt that too. We're just talking about kind of the juice of men's basketball right now. People are very excited about any little thing that's coming out or any little rumor, whether it's coaching, you know, and staff or players and whatnot. And Keita is the newest guy you add. Why was he such an important piece of this? Because that's a big time get. Yeah,
I mean, it is a big time get based on how we want to play. You know, I've talked about it several different times, but having that rim pressure, as I call it, he's a vertical athlete, one of the best in the country. So offensively, it kind of unlocks some things how we want to play, and then obviously defensively, his rim protection and just a powerful athlete, something that we've wanted to add here with the returners is just athleticism. Big, strong guy, beautiful human being as well. So we felt like it was a real seamless fit.
I don't know what you know about Molly, but you're about to know everything with Foose and Keba, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah,
those guys know each other.
Yeah, no, and that's I mean, honestly, that's been a big part of not trying to rock the boat from a chemistry standpoint. You know, a lot of the guys that are coming back have talked about that, about how they felt like that was a strength of the group, and so trying to add talent but also add to the brotherhood, I think this particular instance is a big win there as well.
Kevin Young is with us on BYU Sports Nation, new BYU men's basketball head coach. Obviously, there are still some key pieces that you want to add to the roster, and Keita was a huge one there. It's a fluid situation, understandably, but do you have a timeline of when you are hopeful to have all of your scholarship positions in place?
Yeah, I mean, talking about it every day, every like, not even trying to be funny, every hour things are shifting because the landscape of the portal and then the combine and how there's so many different factors at play. It's not like not everyone's playing on the same timeline, right? And so you kind of have to balance that with who you're targeting and so forth. So there's a real science to it. Clearly haven't figured out the exact art to it yet, but every day we're plugging away, and I would expect, you know, within the week, I would expect to have at least a few more, you know, guys hopefully committed to us. But like I said, things are changing. When I get out of here, I'm sure I'll have 10 missed calls and texts bringing me up to speed on stuff.
That's wild. And Jaxson Robinson obviously is a big one. Yet, how do you balance sort of the, hey, I was in the NBA, I can give some input into this, and I know people, versus, hey, we'd love you back, man?
Yeah, I mean, with him, you know, talking with him and you know, his representation, just listen, all the things that he's doing, I was the guy for years who did that, you know, and I just offered myself up as a resource. You know, they've been pretty clear they're trying to focus on that side of it right now, which I totally support and get, but I just said, hey, listen, man, what you're doing, like I was the guy running those workouts for years. I'm happy
At the combine?
In the pre-draft workouts, you know, and then I've been to the combine many times, but you know, the combine is one thing, but I think it's when you get into the individual NBA
with the teams
facilities, I mean, that's what I did for years, and so I again just offered myself up as a resource, and you know, we'll see where things lay when it's all done for him there.
Because this is also new at BYU, but it hasn't been that long, how much different does your life feel right now?
You know, it's not as different as I thought coming into it, honestly. I mean, a big part of it, as I mentioned early on, was hiring staffers who are well-versed in the college landscape, which we've been able to do pretty well so far. Still more to add there, but you know, there is a lot of. It actually reminds me more of coaching, like in the G League, in the old NBA D League when I was doing it. But in terms of the types of people you're talking to, so there's a lot of similarities there. And then in terms of our recruiting pitch here, it's drawing those parallels between the world I came from into this, and that's what most of these guys are trying to do anyway. So there's been a lot of continuity there.
How do you quickly establish a relationship with someone to the point where they want to be with you here?
Yeah.
Because it's got to be so fast for you with these players, not only the current ones that you're trying to retain, but other ones out of the portal.
Yeah, it's been tricky, you know, especially coming with the portal, you know, coming in late into the game with a lot of these young men. And so part of that is relationships. You know, it surprised me of how connected I've actually been to a lot of the people that are kind of the movers and shakers in this space. But then in terms of once you get to the conversation, I think just keeping it real, like not a whole lot of fluff. Hey, this is how I see you. This is how we would use you. This is why it's good, and kind of getting to the point, which kind of fits my personality anyway. So it's actually been pretty efficient there.
So you found that you knew people through all your NBA connections that know someone connected to these people you're talking to.
Yeah, I mean
that helps, right?
Yeah, and like we were joking about Kalani and stuff, but like when I got the job, like a bomb went off when you mixed the college world and the NBA world, and then I had like 500 texts and phone calls, you know? and so, yeah, man, it's been interesting, like how much crossover there actually is.
Kevin Young is on BYU Sports Nation. Let's focus in specifically on Dallin Hall and Richie Saunders. I know how BYU fans felt about them entering the transfer portal, and then the feelings they had when they decided to come back to BYU. What were those moments like for you when you got the calls from Richie and Dallin specifically that they were joining you and staying at BYU?
Yeah, just super pumped, man. They've been obviously huge parts of the program here. And I told those guys when I first took the job, you know, I need you guys because I have to rely on your experience. You guys know this better than I do. You know, there's things I can help you with from a basketball standpoint, but their familiarity with the Big 12, with BYU, the landscape, all that. So when they said that they were coming back, man, we were just pumped up. And it was cool because I'd been able to build up a rapport, not just with them, but with their families as well. And I could tell that their families were trying to be supportive, but I felt like they did want them to come back. So I think that when they made that choice, it was cool to have their parents reaching out, like, "Oh, we did it," you know, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
I can
Me
confirm
and
that,
you.
Yeah, that Nicole Hall was like, "Spencer, I'm so happy I don't have to make those Big East flights."
Yeah, absolutely.
Going to Creighton, yeah, exactly. Richie was in studio this week and told us he was in Belize, you know, he's in Guatemala. He's in Belize in a taxi cab, and the taxi driver knew who he was. He's like, Richie, as in Richie Saunders in the transfer portal? He's like, oh my gosh, I'm in Belize and somebody knows me. What is it like when you take over a program and you assess the players and the signings and so on? Are you watching film yourself to be like, yes, this guy fits into what I want to do? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I think it's a balance. At the time, it was a major balancing act, you know, because we talked about the Suns thing. So I'm game planning to score against the best defense in the league, which we didn't do a great job of. But then I'm watching tape on our players here. I'm watching tape on recruits. And so trying to blend all that together was a bit of a challenge. But, you know, studying it the best I can, relying on, you know, a lot of the people who had been here as well. So it was kind of just a balancing act, I think.
It's been really fun to watch different high-level NBA players be very vocal about you and in support of you, notably Chris Paul and Devin Booker and others. What's that like for you, and what type of advice are those guys giving to you as you come to BYU and into the college scene? Yeah,
I mean, that's probably the thing I'll miss the most about the NBA is the relationships with that level of player. You know, Chris and Book are probably the two I've gotten the closest with, especially in recent years. But and we had a special run where we were, knocking on the door of a championship. So that alone bonds you together. But it's humbling, I would say, especially, a guy like Chris, who's arguably the best point guard of all time. I mean, the word started to get out a little bit, and he was actually the first person to call me outside of, like, my inner family. He's just really connected. So he kind of caught wind of it. So he called me early one morning and was just thrilled, for me and my family. And then Book's been amazing, like the comments that he's made and just conversations him and I have had. So hopefully we'll get him up here to play some pickup with the guys, and he can kind of share his experiences. But yeah, they're just awesome guys, and just humbling, I'd say.
We're ready to hang a KYU sign.
Yeah, the KYU thing was awesome. That was so fun. Yeah. In terms of the coaches meeting that you were just at, what was it like to kind of be the new guy there, and you're looking around, and there's Bill Self and Scott Drew and Kelvin Sampson and all these guys? Yeah,
it's a little awkward, just jumping in there. Those guys are, I mean, the Big 12 is obviously no joke. You coming in there and you're seeing guys like that. But honestly, just the newness of it, they're saying, I'm texting Tom Homo during the meeting, like, hey, what does this mean? Like, they're saying stuff I don't even know what it means. And so just getting caught up. But honestly, the whole group was very welcoming. Kelvin was in the NBA for a long time too. So it was a good reception, I would say.
Speaking of coaches, you mentioned you've already got Brandon Dunson, and Chris Burgess has been a nice addition, and you've got a chief of staff as well. How many more positions are you looking to fill before you have your staff at 100%?
Yeah, so we got 3 more assistant coaches that were kind of eyeing down the road with some people, a couple support staff, a couple guys I may try to steal from the NBA circles as well. So yeah, things are definitely in the works and moving along, but there's so many things that have to get done, with the portal and with players. So it's hard to, prioritize, because I'm on the phone with the coach, and then next thing I know, I'm on a Zoom call with the recruit, and it's just kind of trying to stay on top of all of it.
And you're offering guys for 25 and 26 for crying out loud.
You guys are eyeing the next couple of years, which is great.
And that's where, honestly, like Brandon and Chris have been tremendous. That's why I wanted those 2 guys specifically here. I really feel amazing about those 2 guys in particular. Those offers you're throwing out, they're keeping me in the loop, and we're studying guys, so they've been great.
Let's finish this segment, and we'll keep you for the next segment. In year 2 at Clayton State, you jumped up 13% on your three-point shot. How did that happen?
Work. Yeah, just getting in the gym and just working. That's great research, number 1 by you. But nah, man, I've always loved the gym, loved the game, and just getting there and putting in work. There's no secret to. And all jokes aside, that's one thing I learned when I got into the NBA. Like, I thought getting into the league, I'm going to learn all these tricks and all this stuff, and it's really not that complicated, man. You got to put the work in.
Can you still shoot?
I can still shoot.
Of course he can.
Nice.
Of course he can. He can give Burge a run for his money. Let's go.
When this previous staff showed up for the first time, they shot for the assistant coach offices. Did you make them do that?
I've heard. We're still kind of plotting out. Yeah, we're still plotting that out.
Great stuff. All right, we've reached the halfway point of this fantastic interview with new BYU men's basketball head coach Kevin Young. We'll be back with more on BYUSN Part 2 on the way, live in Studio B. The show rolls on from Studio B. Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Spencer Linton, teamed up with Jerem Jordan. We're with BYU men's basketball head coach Kevin Young. And Kevin, I think we need to step outside of hoops just for a moment, because BYU fans want to know a little bit more about who you are and maybe some hobbies and things that you have. So outside of basketball, like what are you passionate about beside the sport that now you work your full-time job in?
Yeah, so I'm a dad of 3 young kids, 10, 8, and 6, so they keep me pretty busy. They're pretty sports-oriented as well, so don't get a huge break from it. I like coaching their teams the best I can, but in terms of just for me, I love to mountain bike. I love to work out, try to stay fit. When I hit 40, actually 40, I was okay. 41 messed me up. I'm like, wow, I'm actually in my 40s. And so I got really into just trying to, stay fit and be active.
It's funny that you say that, because you're 17 days older than me. And I mean, there is a reality switch when you're like, oh, now I have to really do something. I have to work.
I can feel my knee the next day. Yeah,
exactly.
Mountain biking, you're going to love this place, man.
Yeah, in fact, when I lived here the first go-around, that's where I first got into it. So I'll be looking forward to that.
How did you get Brody Kowski to come to BYU? Because certainly we've worked with his mom for years. We know and love her. When he went to USC, I was like, oh, man, that was a bummer.
Yeah.
But when he flipped, it was like more joyous than it would have been had he signed originally. What was that process like? And I know you made him a priority on the night of the press conference.
Yeah.
With the family.
Yeah, no, that was just one that, we just kind of hit it off, personality-wise. Honestly, his dad, Travis, is awesome.
Yeah.
Hit it off with him. I don't know, there was just like this just genuine, instant kind of connection between, Brody and his dad, and then met his mom and learned about her background and things. So, I don't know, it just kind of felt pretty right out of the gate.
Anytime you have a mom that drops 49 in a high school game,
She's got the street cred.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask a little bit more about specifically like the guys that you have as you look at the roster right now, because we were just talking like, man, the core. It feels like the core is primarily back. So how much different do you expect the roster to feel, given that you have so many key pieces back already?
Yeah, I mean, that's a luxury, for us. We feel like just in terms of having guys that we can count on already being here. However, we're trying to add, some high-end talent to that as well. And so we've got our hooks in on some guys that are pretty high-level players. Hopefully we can get one or multiple of them to join the group, and then, kind of blend it with the thing I love is the shooting and the IQ and the experience. So a lot of times that's hard to find in and of itself. So we have that. Now we're trying to add some athleticism and some high-end talent with that as well, and try to kind of marry it all together.
Is there a number one priority in that list somewhere? Like if you had to prioritize those, like is it an athletic defensive guard that can score off the dribble? Like how would you answer that?
Yeah, I mean, the athletic big was the number one, which we've already spoken about that. Now we've a combo, probably an athletic combo guard that can, do kind of create his own shot is something we've talked about prioritizing, and just overall athleticism as well. That's kind of been on the wish list.
How many bigs do you need? Because Foose and Cates are certainly your traditional guys, and then you have others who could be stretch fours. But do you want like 4 bigs on the roster, or would 3 be enough?
I think just having some versatility, if there is another one that comes into the mix, somebody that can be different than those 2 guys, I think is something that we've talked about quite a bit. And so, again, man, it's very much a moving target, and it's hard to, I think Chris said it, Burgess said it yesterday, like we're not necessarily drafting, It's like we don't get to just choose. There's so many pieces to the portal and things of that nature, and that's kind of what makes it tricky, but it also kind of makes it fun in the same breath.
Your brother Justin, it's fun, one, to watch his reactions when something exciting happens for BYU basketball, like the GIFs that he's like posting on X. But he's connected to high school basketball and has been doing it for a long time. So what kind of an asset is he to have as your brother, and now that you are the head basketball coach at BYU?
Yeah, massive. I mean, him and I have always been somewhat connected with the game over both of our careers. We used to run camps together when we were both starting out and stuff, and yeah, just an unbelievable asset. He's one of the reasons Dunson and I got connected, along with some other things as well. So he's just been invaluable. He's kind of behind the scenes, knowing. I'm actually surprised about how many people even know who he is, because he's so kind of behind the scenes. But I guess he's a big time dude apparently. But no, he's been great, man. He's one, just from a big bro standpoint, I've always relied on him for advice, and then now we're kind of blending that advice in a basketball sense too, so it's a pretty unique thing.
And then Doug Stewart, you bring in as chief of staff, sort of a GM role, right?
Yeah.
He was an assistant with you with the Delaware 87ers, is that right?
Correct.
That's where the connection was?
Yeah, so Doug was the associate head coach at Oregon State with Craig Robinson for years, and then one of the Billy Lang, who's the head coach at St. Joe's now, him and I were working for the Sixers. I was doing the G League thing. He mentioned Doug to me because he's a Philly, Haddonfield, New Jersey native, and it just kind of worked out while he was kind of in between college years. Had him for a year, bright guy, went on to be with some other schools, and has been in a really unique role at Nevada, where he was now more in administration, kind of fundraising type space. But he's Ivy League educated. He was a good player in his own right. He's just a smart guy. He's a perfect fit for the role that we have him in, and he's going to wear a lot of different hats. And having the knowing him and having worked with him before, on top of all the other things he brings, it kind of was a no-brainer, honestly.
He checks a billion boxes, inclling playing against the Harlem Globetrotters for the Washington Generals.
Come on, right?
That's awesome.
That's a true.
That's really fun.
Yeah, that's one of the all-time trivia questions for sure.
Yes. BYU basketball head coach Kevin Young is on BYUSN. Rewinding to 2019, the first time you were contacted about potentially coaching at BYU from Tom Homo and Brian Santiago, how much did what you went through back then impact what you decided to do or entertain this go around?
It was interesting at that time. It was that kind of planted the seed, I think, on my mind and clearly theirs as well, and really my wife's mind as well. She had always thought that if this ever came up, it would be something we'd really want to pursue. I was on the fence about it. But having learned about it back then, and then the way it was just unbelievable, like all the events that took place leading up to this. But yeah, I think it played a big role in it ultimately happening. And a lot of things happened between that time and now, with like furthering relationships with other people outside of Brian and Tom that are associated with BYU. And so, yeah, it was kind of uncanny the way everything unfolded, honestly.
During COVID, you went on a couple of podcasts, I think with some old coaches of yours, perhaps, that I watched on YouTube. And you talked about your journey of being like the last assistant coach for Dick Hunsaker at UVU, where you're on the practice squad, you're going to Ireland, you're coming back and doing G League stuff, but you're also like selling, was it security systems and getting a Subway sandwich that would last you like a week? Like, do you ever flash back to like that guy and kind of the road that you took to get to this point? Because that's pretty incredible, especially because you were miles away here grinding 19 years ago, and here you are now.
Yeah, it's kind of surreal. Where just throughout my career, I haven't really focused on that. You just kind of get lost in the job. But when I was in Philly coaching there, I lived in New Jersey, and so I would take the Walt Whitman Bridge to get over to the games, right? And so when you're taking that bridge, you look to your right, you see like the Delaware River, and you see an amazing like skyline of Philly. And it was really just on that drive when I would look over there and I'd be like, man, this is actually kind of crazy that I'm even going to an NBA game now, right? And now you fast forward years later to this. Yeah, in fact, anytime I'm pull up and I'm in my office, I can see the mountains in the background there, and the apartment I lived in was back tucked over there, and I'm like, man, that is kind of wild that years ago I was eating the subs over there, and now I'm over here as the head coach. So it's just kind of amazing how it all worked out.
Now you can eat the sub, but just today, just fresh, right?
Exactly.
What are you looking forward to most about coaching in the Marriott Center and having the rock and the crowd and just the juice that is around BYU basketball right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've made mention of this in my press conference, but I didn't really come to many games when I lived here. I didn't have the time, but I did come to one when Jimmer was here, and it was, an incredible atmosphere. So the thing that I'm probably most excited about is just for my kids to experience that level of excitement with me as the head coach. I think it's going to be pretty special.
Are you a suit guy or are you a polo guy as a coach?
It was funny. I was just talking to Brian Santiago about that, and once we bailed on the suits in the NBA, I got real comfortable with the quarter zip. So I asked him the other day, I'm like, dude, do we have to wear the suit or can we do the quarter zip? So I'm doing some serious lobbying over there. Yeah. I think I'll win that fight. We'll see how we'll see how it goes.
That's awesome. Who are some of the main mentors in your life that have sort of shaped who you are as a basketball coach and person up to this point?
Yeah, I'd say the person I'm the closest with in the NBA is Brett Brown. Outside of my dad, he's probably the guy I go to the most when things come up in life, but just obviously basketball. Him and I, he was the head coach of the Sixers when I worked there. He's back with the Spurs now as Pop's kind of a lead assistant. But yeah, him and I just see, I think we see the world kind of similar. He's much more than a basketball coach, and that always drew me to him. But he's just a very curious person by nature, and he also empowered me quite a bit. So my leadership style was really modeled after how he led me, and that's kind of how I've gone. And then obviously Monty Williams is another major figure in my life, and there's a couple other high-level executives in the NBA that I got really close with in Philadelphia that are very analytically minded, and that kind of shaped kind of my view on how you can put that into play. I'll give him a shout out. My guy Sergi in Portland, he's the assistant GM. He was really impactful for me as well. So there's a laundry list of guys, but over the recent years, those are the guys who've impacted me the most.
As we wrap up, we just want to kind of give you the stage and discuss anything that you might want BYU basketball fans and the community to know about you or about the program. Could be about the beard, could be about basketball, whatever you want. The stage is yours.
So the beard got a lot of commentary.
It did, right?
I didn't realize it. So I flew in yesterday morning. Actually, I was coming south, and then I saw one of the billboards that the pic they had me with the beard. I definitely got a little sad that it was gone. But I've heard of like beard cards are like a thing, right? And so I don't know. One of my brother-in-law, his brother's a professor here, and apparently he has like a really gnarly beard. So I may have to pick his brain and see how he pulled that off.
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But in terms, man, I'm just excited to build on what's been going on here. Obviously, had a great year last year. I think. Really excited to just take a lot of the things that I've learned in the NBA and implement them into BYU basketball on both sides of the ball, and just being innovative with that side of it. I think there's a lot of things that we can do that I learned there that maybe haven't necessarily been touched on here at this level. So I feel the excitement. I kind of overheard you guys talking about it. Yeah, there's some juice going on here, and I just want to build off that. And on the flip side, like I love football, so I'm actually fired up for the football season too. And my kids love it, my wife loves it, so we can't wait to be a part of just the BYU community from that standpoint as well.
Coach, we appreciate you spending a lot of time, relatively speaking, in your very busy schedule, 2 segments here.
Yeah.
So typically when you come on the show, we do our part. We give you BYU Sports Nation karma, and good things happen.
We've seen some crazy manifestations. So we put it in recruiting.
Listen, we gave the karma to Ilana Agbayani at BYU softball earlier this week, and they beat Oklahoma State yesterday.
Okay.
Great number 2. So that was a big win yesterday.
There we go. I like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, take the karma. Good luck the rest of the recruiting period and in the transfer portal, and can't wait to talk to you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.